Brought to you by NZ On Air. Active Life! Yeah.
Kia ora koutou, my lovely radioactive listeners. You are tuned into the Active Live session here every Friday afternoon at 3:30 p.m. And today we have the incredible Elliott Dawson and his band Super Stacked Supergroup in the studio here. Let's start off with a song.
I'ma let my balls hang low. Hang low.
Two boys in a trench coat disguise won't be taking me by surprise. Pencil stash in your tattoos. Run, fly, you fools. I wanna speak to the man in charge. I wanna speak to the man in charge. I wanna speak to the man in charge, the CEO. The CEO. Roll the wheels down to the morgue. The rope is always taut. Come try these shoes, my son. If they don't fit, then you're done for. You're done for. I wanna speak to the man in charge. I wanna speak to the man in charge. I wanna speak to the man in charge, the CEO. The CEO. I wanna speak to the man in charge. I wanna speak to the man in charge. I wanna speak to the man in charge, the CEO. You better hang low.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Thank you so much, guys. Starting off on an absolute bang. That was the brand new single CEO, which is the debut track from Elliott Dawson. Came out last Friday. Now, can you tell us a bit more about yourself and the beautiful people in the room today for the listeners?
I sure can. Hello, my name is Elliott Dawson, and I'm joined by four of my favorite people in the world. On my immediate left, we have Lily Rose Shaw on the saxophone, Pierce Higginson on the bass, Olivia Campion on the drums, and Ruben Topsand on the keys and the samples. That's
Amazing. Such a super group. I was saying before that I think you've probably all been in the Active Live studio at some point in other projects. But this is the debut single for your solo project. How has this begun? You've been performing music for a long time now, starting off in Dunes, of course, with Pierce, who's here today. What made you decide to start a solo project?
Something I've always wanted to do. And I started writing songs. I mean, mostly it's because I started writing songs that kind of didn't fit within our Dunes canon, if that makes sense. Because we got to the point where we've been playing together for so long that we feel like we had that sound, and then I started writing stuff that didn't fit, and then all of a sudden it felt like actually maybe I might go down this path a little bit, and in order to do it justice, it needed to be something different, kind of I guess, natural growth, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, amazing. And so this is the first single, CEO, which you released last Friday. What was the inspiration behind this track?
I wanted to make something really scary and weird. And the song itself is meant to kind of represent the ugliest and the scariest parts of like the hyper masculine ideal. So that's why it's called CEO, and that's why all the lyrics the way that they are, and it's kind of got this weird, janky, uncomfortable vibe, and it's big business rock music vibes. And I don't know, I'm a real big fan of albums that start with just like an absolute belter, or like an attention grabber. Like some of my favorite albums are the ones that will just hit you in the face right from the start, and I wanted to have something like that started everything off to kind of be like, whoa, and then everything else comes from there.
Yeah, to like instantly grab your attention into which I guess kind of goes with the subject matter as well of a CEO being this like big overarching figure that everyone's sort of scared of.
Yeah. And it's meant to be tongue in cheek. Like it's meant to be this kind of like caricature of ugly masculinity.
Yeah, and the instrumentation is really interesting as well. Like there's some real cool electronic stuff going on with the samples. Is this like a new thing for you, composing with more than just like guitar and like going kind of more outside of the indie rock sphere and being a bit more experimental?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm really lucky to be able to play with these guys because the stuff that I send them is completely deranged, and then it comes out on the other side sounding much better. I don't know, when I did all the demos for this album, including for CEO, I kind of just threw everything I could at it, and then like I've never done anything in a band like Ruben has this little sampler here where he's got loaded into them all of the samples that were on the original demos that are also on the tracks. Like there's I don't know if you can't really hear them that loud in the studio version, but there's all these like screeching, laughing sounds in the like real crazy bit, and that was just me in my room with like an awful condenser mic, like screaming, and then just adding as much delay into it, just going like, ha ha! And it made it onto the record, and the fact that we can do it in a live setting is just the coolest thing ever to me, because I don't know, I feel like where we sit is somewhere in between, like a beautiful in between, like to bands that are like having backing tracks because they've only got so many members and they can't recreate everything that's on the record in a live setting, and being able to include some of the interesting sounds on the record as well in a live setting. Yeah,
no, that's totally fair, because I think more and more with music technology evolving, it's becoming so much more electronic now, and so to be able to translate that live is really important. But you said that this is the first track off an album that you're releasing in September, which is very, very exciting. How long has this album been in the works for?
A while. I wrote CEO in the first March 2020 lockdown. That was the first song off the record that I wrote. So that's been floating around for ages, and it feels real nice to have it out. And the rest of it kind of came in bits and pieces from there. I knew I wanted to write this album at the start of 2020, but only actually started writing it in that lockdown, and then it kind of was all written by the kind of end of February last year, and then we went into the studio in December last year. So it's a process.
Yeah.
It's definitely a process for sure.
And you've described this album as the record of rebirth, and you've called it Hang Low. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
I can. I think the title of the album, Hang Low, it kind of spins off CEO, and it's part of the lyrics in that song as well. In terms of like the album being an album of rebirth, I came to the point where I realized that there was lots of parts, or like aspects of me that I didn't have to have, and whether that be, subscribing to a certain way of speaking or looking in order to be perceived as like valid as a man or just as a human. And the album kind of charts the process of me just deconstructing those ideals from like an internal and an external perspective. And I thought Hang Low was a funny title, to be honest. I was gonna call it, I was gonna self-title it, and then I was like, oh nah. And then I feel like I read this book called The Descent of Man by a British artist called Grayson Perry, who kind of put into perspective a lot of stuff that I've been thinking about but hadn't necessarily been able to put into words. And which has ended up being kind of the main inspiration for the album. He talks about in that book about people having in kind of their internal voice this kind of like internalized toxicity or like misogyny, like that voice in your head that's like, like man up, be a man, to dumb it down completely. And he kind of like uses this analogy where he calls it like in every person's brain there's this what's called the department of masculinity, and there's this proverbial CEO that like you have to that you're in a constant battle with, and the best thing that you could do is just to not listen to that angry little voice in your head, be it in whatever context. And so that's where the idea from CEO came. Like, I'm gonna go talk to the man in charge and tell him to go away.
Tell him to get out of here.
For one of a not expletive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The radio friendly version of that.
Yeah.
No, that's really beautiful. Thank you so much for explaining that to us. Do you often write from like a place of poetry, from literature? Because I noticed that obviously CEO is a metaphor for things. Is that something you use quite often when writing?
If it's like, if there's like something that's like directly applicable, like if I can slap on, I wouldn't say like a lazy metaphor, but like if it's right there in front of me and I can grab it, yes. But if I can't, then sometimes not really. Yeah.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I'd be really keen to hear another track. What's the next song that you guys have for us to play?
It is called Bald Spot, and it follows. It's the song that comes directly after CEO on the record. Just check out. Sweet. Should we do it? bodies in my room are still alive. On display, free of charge. No guarantee of agency. Play the game 'cause it's playing me. There's no escape, there's nowhere safe. There's no escape, there's nowhere safe. Locked yourself up but not in chains. Release yourself, you're the pig in the game. You're a Japanese gorilla but the war is over. You're a bold boy, 86 Corolla. You're a sports bar in a foul odor. You're a bold spot with the comb over. There's no escape, there's nowhere safe. There's no escape, there's nowhere safe. There's no escape, there's nowhere safe. There's no escape, there's no escape. There's no escape, there's nowhere safe. There's no escape, there's nowhere safe. There's nowhere safe. There's no escape, there's nowhere safe. There's nowhere safe.
Absolutely beautiful. If you've just joined us, we have Elliott Dawson and his band live in the studio here on radioactive.fm. Man, incredible. It's so beautiful hearing this live. Can you tell me a bit more about the recording of this album? You recorded it in the studio with, at Surgery Studios with James Goldsmith?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We sure did, which was sick. First time, like, I've ever done, like, something in the studio, quote unquote, like, I don't want to say properly, but like I've gone into studios before and recorded stuff like all live. Like we did a full day with Dunes once where we tracked everything live, but this time had enough time to like go through and track things individually, apart from Pierce and Olivia who did their parts at the same time. It was very cool. Surgery's great. James is an absolute wizard and the loveliest person. So I was real stoked that he wanted to work with us on this record. And he kind of just guided us along, you know. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. Like I was saying before, there's some stuff that was on the original demos that made it on to the final recordings. But we did, drums, bass, guitars, saxophone, flute, and a bit of percussion. And then I ran away, and Ruben and I did keys in his house as he was moving in.
Yeah.
And Ben Gibbons from Dunes let me record vocals in his house, which was very, very kind of him. Shouts out to Benji.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. And then you patched it all together
Yeah.
back at the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of really beautiful like jazz influence sounds in there. Can you tell me a bit more about your musical influences behind the record?
Yes. Definitely wanted to have a bit more of that jazz influence on this. And that comes from, at the moment I've been listening to a lot of Puma Blue, Oscar Jerome, Yusuf Days, like Tomish, like lots of that kind of like South London neo soul jazz. Like Jordan Rakai is a big influence for me as well. And I feel like with this record, like I come from like big indie rock background, so I don't have like I know what I want things to sound like, but I can't, you know, I didn't study jazz. I don't really know. So a lot of this stuff for me is like borrowing elements from parts and then finding great musicians that I think can help me get over the edge of into that vibes. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You said earlier that when you were thinking about choosing your band, it was like the Avengers, and you.
Yeah, straight up. I haven't talked to these guys about it, so they're gonna laugh. They're gonna laugh at me. But I feel like I went through this period of like 2 months at the start of last year where I was like trapped in a montage that was like the Avengers coming together, or like Ocean's 11, where like there's that montage where George Clooney goes around and is like, I need Matt Damon, I need Brad Pitt, we're going to rob this bank and steal the crown jewels. It probably didn't feel like that to these guys, but I mean it with all intents that like, you know, all of the parts on this record were written with the intent of these 4 people playing them. So the fact that they're all here with me now is amazing.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. So you've released the first single, CEO, and then you've got the album coming out in September. Can we expect any other releases before then?
Yes, there's 2 singles. One of them's called Winter's Ghost, which is the next single. And then there's a third single, which is Bald Spot, the song that we just played. And they're coming out in July and August before, and then the album in September. So little wait before a couple of songs and then the full thing.
Yeah, very exciting. And do you guys have any upcoming gigs or anything?
We have a couple. We're playing tomorrow at the Rogue with a bunch of other cool bands, including Alba Rose and Revolver, who also have an EP out today. Shout out to Revolver. Lily and Olivia both play in Revolver and played on all that stuff.
Amazing.
So big shout out for their EP release tomorrow. And then we're also playing a show opening for Witty Donna on the 10th of June. And her EP also came out today and was also produced by James Goldsmith and is incredible. So you should go to that show too. Shout out to Witty Donna.
Today is a
shout out to Bianca.
Brilliant day for New Zealand music.
Yeah, and awesome, really cool Wahine-led bands in Wellington that are just making the best music. So it's cool.
Yes, absolutely. Cool. So everyone will be able to catch you guys this weekend at the Rogue and Vagabond.
Yeah.
Playing alongside Revolver, Alba Rose, and Sea Mouse. What is the final track that you have to play for us?
We are playing Truman, which is another song from the record.
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
I can. When did I write Truman? Probably like halfway through last year. And the enduring memory that I have from writing the song is at that point in time, my light bulb broke, and I had a red light bulb from like a party that we'd had last weekend, and so I spent the period of like 2 weeks of only having like a dark red light bulb in my room, and that's when I wrote the song. Yeah.
So just imagine being in a dark room with just a red light bulb in the corner.
Tiny red light bulb. Yeah.
Amazing. Oh, well, thank you guys so much for coming in today. For those listeners out there, we've got Elliott Dawson and his band in studio. CEO is out now, and the album Hang Low will be out in September, and keep your eyes peeled for some singles in between then. Just going to make you do some shameless self-promotion. Where's the best place to find you and your news?
Probably Instagram or Twitter or just everywhere. I'd say I'm the most active on Instagram, if that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just
Absolutely.
harass me by any means necessary. I'm friendly.
That's a pretty dangerous call.
It's fine.
That's fine. Cool. Oh, well, we'll rip into the last song. This is the track Truman by Elliott Dawson.
Thank you very much for having us. Sorry. There's a place for you in my heart. Oh, the hard and soft parts. They're painting all the leaves, pretend we're evergreen. Don't you kneel in dust if you desire to keep your knees clean. Eyes open when you sleep. Eyes open when you sleep. The poison's in the sea. Eyes open when you sleep. Eyes open when you sleep. The company we keep. Shock therapy, self-prescribed. Oh, this heaven on my mind. We're painting all the leaves, pretend we're evergreen. Don't you kneel in dust if you desire to keep your knees clean. Eyes open when you sleep. Eyes open when you sleep. The poison's in the sea. Eyes open when you sleep. Eyes open when you sleep. The company we keep. Eyes open when you sleep. Eyes open when you sleep. The poison's in the sea. Eyes open when you sleep. Eyes open when you sleep. The company we keep.
incredible stuff coming from the Active Live Room this afternoon. You guys have been listening to Elliott Dawson. Thank you guys for coming in and playing, and thank you so much to NZ On Air. Big aroha.
Thank you so much.
Active Live. Friday, 3:30. Every week a new band. In studio. Brought to you by NZ On Air.